Okay, awesome. So greetings and aloha. What's going on? It's Mike's from livemyassoff.com. Hope you're well. I got the chat window up, so any of you that are listening or watching on Facebook or YouTube will easily be able to chime in. What I wanted to share today, obviously, as you might guess, is what's going on in the world. But I don't want to necessarily spend the entire time on it. Because with any luck, you're kind of used to it. Does that sound right? Or does that sound lame? Because it's happening, right? So anyway, I did want to give a couple of updates. I'll wait till a couple other people join in, but I wanted to give a couple of updates as far as what's happening in Thailand. Obviously, I want to do that with a couple of videos. I don't know if you guys were just watching it. I was just watching it. It was probably a little delayed because I was watching it on YouTube. So and a couple things. So this morning the power goes off. Like I wake up about 6:15, whatever. And I'm a face toucher. Have you noticed that? That's why I wash my hands a lot. The power goes off at like 6:30, and I'm like, all right, fine. That's no worries. I don't have to. I'm not going to stream until 8 a.m. I should be fine. So I get everything set up, and then about 7:15, power goes out again. Now the good news is that I've done power before. So I was like, okay, because when I went outside after the first power outage, and I was like, okay, so what are the noises I'm hearing? I'm trying to kind of figure that out. And I was like, oh, okay, so that sounds like basically a big truck engine, which means that's a generator. So I said, okay, so the power goes out again, and I thought, all right, I guess that's actually kind of a good thing, because that means they were testing the generator, it came on, and then I listened outside, and there's no more of the truck engine, so I'm like, all right, cool. The generator works. That's good to know. The fact that they test it live, well, actually, I'm kind of okay with that, because I can tell you right now, when I was in radio, we would test our generator once a month by turning it on. We wouldn't basically make it power the station or make it power whatever. And so just having a lawnmower that starts, that doesn't necessarily mean the blade's sharp, right? So I was just like, it's probably better if we, if they really test this. So I can appreciate that. So I think we have a generator here in our condo. And as far as I know, the only reason it went out for such a long time a while ago was because we had outage on the entire street. And so I can understand why they would tell all the condo places like, hey, by the way, don't turn your generators on, because there's a slight chance that, even if your transfer switch is awesome, it might be broken, and therefore it'll kill our people. So don't do that. So I'm like, okay, yeah, that's good. I'm actually kind of I'm cool with the test. So in the background is the lovely Boracay. If you joined a few minutes before it started, that was another picture of Boracay. And the cool thing is that this picture here, this is one that Gracie took when she was there probably about a month and a half ago, late January, early February, or more like early February. And then the other one with the lounge chair, that was taken on my first day in Boracay many years ago. So anyway, good morning from Bangkok. It's about 8:05 a.m. here, and I've got the rig set up so you can see what's going on over there. I got the laptop. I got another laptop for redundancy, and then I got that fan that's actually in front of me, and I turned that off. So anyway, we're gonna go back to here. I'm gonna get rid of this little app that I got. And I'm going to hopefully have a computer that works appropriately. I've had issues in the past where the streaming will sort of jitter on this machine, but it's my Windows machine, and it runs OBS. So anyway, I actually kind of like it, and so what I want to do is hopefully continue to use it. Now that said, with the market in the situation that it is, I'm pretty glad that I didn't buy a 30,000 baht laptop a little while ago. because that way I have rent money for the next couple months. No, I mean, my life is planned out years, and so I'm not worried about that. As is my investing. And so I hope yours is as well. I hope that you guys are not you're not sweating it too much. Yeah. Because I know how that can be, well, shit, it can be really distracting, right? So anyway, I'll tell you what, let me do this, because I think some people listen live or watch live, and I think also some people listen and watch, on demand later on. But what I'm really waiting for is my buddy Missy. She's like my #1 fan on Facebook as far as live streams go. But to be fair, it's 6 p.m. on the West Coast, and so there's probably a pretty good chance that she's eating dinner with her family. So anyway, so here in Bangkok, I feel really safe. I feel, like I can go out and do stuff. Good morning from Boise. Oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen, Marty Johnson. Here's why I'm so stoked. Because the only reason that I went and realized and then tried to figure out how to basically set a broadcast and publish it, I guess, basically, and schedule it, is because of Marty. And Missy's here. Awesome. And cool. I hope you're not, I'm confident you're not watching silly me instead of eating dinner with your family. Sorry, my ego jumped in there for a moment. I had to squelch it quickly. What I want to do, actually, is I want to, how am I going to do this? I'm going to put, later on, Marty, I'm going to make sure that I share with you guys Marty's channel called Surviving TN. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce what TN is. Marty, if you want to put it in the chat, then everyone can see it later on. But essentially, it's enormous pain that my buddy, poor Marty, is suffering from in his head. And so it's a neurological issue. And you're boycotting cooking tonight. Very good. Did you outsource that to your husband or to Andrew? So anyway, the short answer is I'm going to share Marty's Surviving TN YouTube channel with you guys. Additionally, if you're watching on YouTube and you're paying attention to the stream, what you can do is you can click on his face, or you can hover over his post there, and then to the right there's 3 dots. Click on that and then basically say go to channel. Do that, subscribe, like, share, watch his first couple videos, and then tell me and Marty if you have any problems in your life right now. Okay? Missy says quarantine food and bad snacks. Yeah, absolutely. You know what is ridiculously expensive here in Thailand? Snickers bars, which if you don't know is the #1 candy in the whole world. Secondly, Twinkies. Almost impossible to get Twinkies. It's like the Hostess plant, basically, they closed for a while, right? And then they reopened, but they only reopened and bothered bringing stock to the United States. So I feel very limited here. You're very welcome, Marty. Absolutely, buddy. And I'll tell you what, hey, if you want, buddy, I found this really cool software, and not the one I'm using right now, but what I can do is I can do a live broadcast, but I can also, or live stream, and then there's a link that people can just go to and blam, all of a sudden the camera comes on their computer or their phone, and then they can be basically on the show, if you will. I mean, I'm starting to jump back into my radio-ness because of my radio face. But anyway, so if you want to do a, because Marty and I joked around, because the other thing, okay, first of all, you have to watch his videos. Secondly, you have to watch all the way through the end of his videos, because he does these outtakes at the end that I don't really have a whole lot of them. But he makes mistakes, right? He's doing a produced video and he's editing it, and so therefore along the way, he holds his dog and he says, it's just the short answer is his outtakes are awesome. Watch his videos all the way to the end. So Marty and I joked around that if he and I ever got together, all we would do is outtakes of videos. So I'm looking forward to that once the silly travel ban goes away. But to the point of the travel ban, I wanted to read something read something that I got from let's see here. It is the Tiger, which is a sort of a blog, but also fairly well trusted news source here in Thailand. And it's the Tiger, and it's spelled TIAGER. So THETIAGER.com is the website, and they update like a lot of other websites do here. Of course, Bangkok Post being a pretty well trusted one. But what I wanted to share is this, which is Bangkok's governor Asawin Kwanmuang is warning business owners that they face heavy fines, even jail, if they disobey orders to close. And in an apparent warning to police, he said the same applies to those responsible for ensuring the ban is enforced. Meaning, you know, if you're a cop, don't take 1,000 baht or 10,000 baht or whatever from a bar owner saying, hey, just let me just stay open, you know. So, and I get it, you know, people are, what is it, desperate people do desperate things, right? Or desperate people in desperate times. Rike is also another guy that says that on his channel. And but anyway, Asawin says 6 types of establishments have been ordered shut until the end of the month, which is March, to try and curb the spread of COVID-19 coronavirus in the city. They include bars, massage parlors, spas, entertainment venues, cinemas and theaters, fitness centers, and boxing stadium, and all boxing-related activities. Obviously, well, you may not know, but boxing is Thai boxing, or Muay Thai here in the kingdom is sort of popular, mildly, in the sense that it is sort of it's a very national sport. And so I'm not going to get into my definition of sport as it relates to boxing because let's just say I'm not a fan of boxing, okay? I'm going to turn on my AC here real quick because as you may know, it's warm in Thailand. And so I'm just going to turn that on a little bit. With any luck, there won't be too much white noise in the background. But another thing that I wanted to read is that such businesses have been ordered to conduct a thorough cleaning and be ready to open in April. So the point is it's like, look, you're closed now, but we also expect you to, you know, take care of your place, not just like close it down and then walk in on March 31st, open the door up and you're good. Also, though Asawin warned that the ban will be extended if necessary, people who defy the ban can be fined up to 100,000 baht or jailed for up to a year or both. 100,000 baht is approximately $3,000. So the governor called on all of the responsible for enforcing the ban to do their duty, in air quotes. He also advised the public to postpone weddings and or ordinations, but said funerals could go ahead. So, I mean, you know, the guy's got some heart, right? But the point is that he's basically saying, look, you know, you're going to be held accountable, you know, if you do this, right? So anyway, what I wanted to do now is I wanted to go over to this YouTube video that I found, also by the Tiger. They do like a sort of a daily update, and I wanted to play this because I think it's well, for the most part, the beginning of it is actually pretty relevant. But let me do this. I have 2 of these on and I shouldn't. There we go. But let me go to the YouTube tab here and see if we can't play this. Actually, I closed it, so I'll have to reopen it. But anyway, once I get that done, then we can give it a look. I think it's pretty interesting, actually. Some of the, not just interesting, I think it's important that we look at a whole bunch of the behaviors that are occurring. It seems like, for the most part, most countries are sort of doing the same thing, right? And so that means, in my mind, they're telling people to stay home. And they're telling people to not touch each other, and if you sneeze, like, don't do it, do it in your shoulder kind of thing. So social distancing, right? This really cool new term. I wonder how many, I wonder if you guys use Google AdWords or anything, if you're curious about whether social distancing is a new cool term. But anyway, let me get this website back, and then we can take a look at this video, because I think that actually it's pretty. The first 2 minutes of it are pretty interesting, and with any luck here, the computer that I'm on won't die, even though it says no internet, which I believe is a lie. But you never know, right? The internet here is say $2 and it's 293 baht a month, and that includes taxing, and that's just under $9, and it's 50 megabits down, 20 megabits up, which is pretty decent as far as I'm concerned. But it's telling me I have no internet, and as far as I can tell, I absolutely have internet. So it's taking a little while to work on this computer, and I'm hoping there's not a whole lot of jitter on the other end. But so anyway, well, that's not working out. But what I will do is afterwards in the show notes, in the description, as well as in the chats on YouTube and Facebook, I'll make sure I put the link to the YouTube video that I'm talking about. At the end of the day, all it did was really sort of summarize the number of additional cases we have here, and it's increased, right? And I think I think it increased by 60, if I'm not mistaken. Let me actually check some of the updates I have here on my phone. I get a feed just like we all do. Al Jazeera is reporting a lot on the workers in Thailand and how much of a negative sort of impact that's having, you think? Yeah, Gracie mentioned that she's got one more week, so that's not too bad. She's been home for a week. So it's it's increasing here, just like it's increasing where you are. And so that was it. 60 more cases reported in Thailand as of basically last night, and the total here in Thailand is 272. I believe the one in the U.S. it's in the thousands, so that's a bit appropriate, I suppose, right? Because in other words, you don't know how many there are unless you start testing. And from what I watch on the news, which is very little, because I don't want to get too depressed, I'm told that, at least by the videos that I've seen, that there are very, very long lines of cars for people wanting to get tested. One of the things that I wanted to... okay. So Gracie, and she's in the Philippines. So she says, before one can get a boarding pass to fly to Thailand, any foreigners from any countries needs to be quarantined and show health certificates. I've heard about that before, as well as Thai medical insurance for at least 100,000 baht, which is ridiculous. Effective from 22 March midnight, and so that will basically be that's about 2.5 days here, right? Because today's the 20th here. This is how Thailand is locked down using a Thai way. Stay at home. So there's a link there to a website. So if you guys want to, actually, if you're on YouTube and you're watching the video, you'll see this in the video, but it won't show up in the live chat on YouTube. But you can absolutely take down that link and give it a view. So thanks, Gracie. Appreciate it, honey. Gracie's not here, so that's a bummer. But actually, it's a good thing. I mean, she's home with family, right? When she did get home, though, the health department was pretty quick to basically say, yeah, so you're quarantined, lady. So that's good. Oh, I'm having a 3-in-1, honey, by the way. And Gracie and I are big fans of these 3-in-1s. If you don't know what that is, basically it's a plastic container, a little tube, right? A little packet, a sachet. And And in there is coffee, creamer, and sugar. And the creamer they use is actually quite good. It's better than any of the powdered creamers I've had in the U.S. And the sugar is real cane sugar. So anyway, and the coffee is really good and strong, usually because around here we use Robusta beans, which I believe have a better flavor, versus Arabica beans, which is pretty common in the U.S. So anyway, now the other thing too is that this live stream that I'm trying is, again, I believe I started it correctly. And with any luck, there won't be too much jitter. But if there is, then I'm going to basically have to put it together a GoFundMe page to get a better laptop. No, I'll figure out a better solution to that. The one that I use is Gracie's laptop, and it's the second sort of Chromebook-like laptop. It's like a touch screen, and the screen folds so you can use it as a tablet. But we got it at like Office Max or something like that, Office Depot. It was like $140. It's an Asus. It's got a great, processor in it and that stuff. So, coffee black. Ooh, nice work. And you probably guessed that I want to quote that line from Airplane, right, Missy? I take it black, like my men. So, anyway, yeah. I'm into black coffee, provided it's decent coffee. I prefer coffee with a little bit of sweetener in it. And, here's an interesting interesting statistic. When I was working at this one place in Kearney Mesa, San Diego, I was there for almost 6 years, or maybe more than 6. Anyway, more than 6 years, basically. Radio station. And radio TV. And every morning, for I would say at least 2 years in a row, me and friends, or me and my girlfriend at the time, would drive to a Starbucks and get coffees before we went to work, meaning we would get milkshakes with coffee in it, right? And so I would either get I believe it was a quad shot venti caramel macchiato, or a mocha or something like that. Anyway, the short answer is we spent approximately $1,500 per year, each of us, just on Starbucks coffee. And my life has changed such that I cannot even imagine that. Gracie and I don't even go into Ian Goodman. Oh my God, this is so cool. So here's why I think Facebook is awesome. Because I've been able to reconnect with guys and gals that I went to high school with. And Missy and I probably talk more now than we ever have, even when I was living in California, when she was basically just straight north of me in Oregon. But now that I'm on the other side of the world, we chat on Facebook all the time. Ian, thank you. The feed is pretty good so far. Starts to truncate a bit when adding more content or web space. Thank you, Ian. I really appreciate that. Ian is familiar with my experience in radio, so he knows that I'm obsessed and disappointed when there is lousy audio. So. And yeah, that's true. So Missy says she lives in Portland, and there's great coffee there. I would agree with that. I don't remember the coffee chain that started up there. Obviously, it's not Starbucks. It's either Pete's or Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf. I can't remember which one. And I'm also trying to remember which one recently got bought by the fast food chain Jollibee of the Philippines. But they paid over $1 billion for the whole chain. It was kind of crazy. Don't know if that's going to decrease the quality of the coffee. Probably not. They probably just bought it and said, okay, yeah, we're going to pay you guys $1 for this, and we expect to get $2 back, right? It's a standard business transaction. I'm sure they weren't like, oh man, we're going to change this coffee. We are going to put these hamburger. We're going to put a Jollibee hamburger in it. We're going to mix up smoothies with French fries. No. So yeah, Pete's Coffee. Thanks. Yeah. I'm a fan of Pete's Coffee. Actually, in Thailand, I'm the biggest fan of Cafe Amazon, or what basically people will refer to as Amazon coffee, because the prices are literally less than half of what are in Starbucks. And they started as coffee shops that were at gas stations, owned by PTT, which is a oil company here, and PTT has plenty of gas stations, right? So they started there. And then, I assume they said, There's a hell of a lot more markup on this bean water than there is in this damn, gasoline thing. So we might do well to start putting our coffee houses outside of the gas stations. And sure enough, every time I go into one, there's at least one more person there. So, and they have free Wi-Fi, which is really great. And the Wi-Fi is fairly decent. I've done actually a couple of my live broadcasts from the Amazon Cafe in GMT I, which is a beach just south of Pattaya. So, for me, I believe this is day 6 of my self-quarantine, which was not, meaning I self-imposed. I'm mandated to basically, quarantine, right? But, I mean, I can go outdoors. Like, even last night, I try and go out at least once a day. I'm not a big meditator, and I don't do yoga, so I try and stretch when I'm around here. Otherwise, I'll spend the whole day on the silly couch, basically doing internet things, not the least of which is probably obsessing too much about what Donald Trump says. Although I was watching that was what I was watching actually before we had this one. But and the last time I went out, and I went to 2 grocery stores. Which, grocery stores here, I mean, some of them are enormous and bigger than anything I've ever seen in the U.S., but the majority of them, the majority of places that people will buy like individual items are 7-Elevens. There are over 8,000 7-Elevens in Thailand, and they're everywhere. But some of them are like literally smaller than a 1-bedroom apartment. But this grocery store, it's called Tops, which is right across from our condo. From a U.S. perspective, it's basically the size of a 7-Eleven. And so I was over there, and as I was standing in line, there was people in front of me in the side, like 3 or 4. And just to be clear, too, so all the shelves were completely stocked. And there was toilet paper, because they use it differently over here. They're not obsessed with it. But there were pallets and pallets and pallets of drinking water in the back, fresh drinking water. Now, Missy works for, I want to say you work for the state. I could be wrong, though. And she says she's still going to the office. Very few people there, sure. But the governor is talking about signing a shelter-in-place order. Yeah, that seems to be the new phrase. First it was social distancing, and now shelter-in-place seems to be the new sort of buzzword. But yeah, the last time I did a live stream, which I think was 3 or 4 days ago, Missy was mentioning that up in Portland, she's working for the state basically, and so it is. They were, they couldn't work from home. She mentioned that the infrastructure couldn't handle it, So I'm like, okay, well that's kind of a bummer, but considering you guys have almost unlimited free electricity up there from your. I think Columbia River Gorge, isn't that where the majority of the electrical power is generated up there? Anyway, so if you didn't hear earlier, I was really concerned because the power went out twice, but realized after a little bit that the first time it went off, they were switching over to the generator, then we were on the generator for a while, and then the second time it went off was switching back to regular power, to shore power. So, yeah, that's cool. I'm grateful that they tested it, and I'm grateful that we have that here, a generator. The other thing about when I was in the Tops was that I was frequently, within, 6 feet or so, right? Not intentionally, but you just sort of move around. I mean, quite frankly, you really kind of keep a 1 meter kind of personal space thing. It's only my experience with the Chinese where they're just like, oh man, get the hell away from me, right? But it's just like, here it's like, it's sort of it's expected. I've got my own little sort of, sphere here, don't jump into it. Unless, you're at a bar or someplace like that. And there were times where all of the people that were basically, certainly within, 6 feet, 10 feet, were not wearing masks. And, they're all Thai. And I was, and as I mentioned before, the main reason that I do it is just so that people feel, okay, well, because there's reports from the Minister of Health here that, all the farang are dirty, but for the most part he was referring to people from Europe, not necessarily from America. But farang is just simply the Thai word for foreigner / traditionally it refers to a white foreigner, a white European foreigner, right? So the point is that he was basically singling us out, saying that, they're fleeing their country and they're coming to Thailand and they're dirty and they don't shower, and us Thai citizens, we need to be a lot more worried about the darn farang than we do about it, the Asian people coming in here and whatever. Didn't make me leave because I know I'm not doing that, and so therefore, whenever and he mentioned the fact that they don't wear masks. 90% of all the Thais that he saw when he was up in Chiang Mai, the report is, were wearing masks. Of course, he made that statement while not wearing a mask, which I thought was a little frustrating as a Thai, saying that Thais wear masks. Look at me, do as I say, not as I do, right? So I just sort of wear it to not have to get socially annoyed. Let's just say that. Oh, let me show you the new masks I got. Okay, so for the most part, these actually were being given out for free at a kind of a local hardware store. They call it Mr. DIY, Mr. Do It Yourself, right? And they'll have like Snickers bars, but it's kind of like a mini Home Depot, but they don't have appliances either, so it's a smaller Home Depot thing, right? Mr. DIY, and they were these were like at the register. They were like giving these out. Let's see, Gracie wasn't here, and I was doing, so it was like early February, and so this is just one of those that I got. Additionally, when I went to do my immigration stuff, to do the paperwork over there, when I went in, they did the dot thing with the, they take your temperature, and then they gave you one of these, provided you didn't have a fever, right? And then there was hand sanitizer. This one that I bought is not N95, but it is quite close. I ordered it online. I received them yesterday. I wasn't supposed to receive them until like Saturday or Sunday or something like that. They did indeed come from China, and I bought it on Shopee. Shopee is it? So it's a website over here that you buy stuff on. So anyway, the sort of elasticized fabric sort of thing that is that holds it onto my face is pretty significant, right? And to the point where my chubby little face, like, it kind of accents that. But here, let me see if I can. So let me get rid of that sort of thing. So anyway, so you can see that it like has the seal, right, which is pretty cool. I got 4 of them, and I think it was like, I think they were like $2 each or something. It wasn't ridiculous. They're not really acoustically transparent like the other one, right? I mean, obviously there's a little bit of, I'm getting some more warm mids on this, Ian, wouldn't you say? And I'm probably making a scratching noise, with my beak up against the, but in any case, so that's another one, the one that I wear actually now, because it's actually got like a frame to it. And because of that, it doesn't like touch my mouth or my nose or make it hard. It's much easier to breathe with this one on, let me just say that. And so that's sort of the one that I've been wearing regularly. This one, let me see if I can just breathe in it and see if you see the sort of reaction to it. It's sort of, right? So that's annoying. And a lot of times, like Gracie and I would wear these like when we were on public transit, like the train and stuff. And then we'd get out of the train and take them off and be like, because it really squelches your breathing, right? It's kind of annoying. So anyway, let me go back and let me also refresh the chat here, make sure that I didn't miss anything. And then I also got some, sorry about that. I also got some hand sanitizer. I ordered little 50 milliliter bottles and then some other ones. Missy says shelter in place means they use the military to enforce it. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that was part of the definition. So, but, to be fair, I mean, there's only so many police officers, right? So, interestingly enough, on one of the streams before, Missy and I were, or at least, we were sort of reflecting back on 1978, which means she and I are experienced. We're not old. I don't feel old. I don't know about you, Missy. I certainly don't feel 50. I mean, I'm 51, right? But I'm going to be 52 in 3 days. So. But in any case, we were reflecting back on the blizzard of '78, which was an incredible, storm that we had in New England. And as part of that, the National Guard was called out because, there's only so many people that can help with things, right? When you need some sort of law and order. So, and I don't believe there was any sort of reason to, say, oh my God, we got to, arrest people if they do bad things. I think it was more of sort of an enforcement thing. So I don't know what's going to happen here in Thailand as far as enforcement. Again, the only way I can determine that is to go out and potentially get yelled at, right? And so I get my food delivered. I got groceries delivered yesterday. If I got groceries delivered yesterday that were supposed to be delivered tomorrow. And so I got stuff on Thursday that was scheduled to get delivered today, actually. As well as on Saturday. And then I got another delivery coming Sunday, and so, I got way more food than I need. Giving away masks. Hospitals here are running out. Yeah, no, they weren't doing it like last week. Trust me. This was the beginning of February when Gracie came here. So when the Philippines and Thailand were like, oh, yeah, vacation like crazy. Don't worry about it. Just keep the Chinese out, basically. Not just the Chinese. People that have traveled through or coming from Wuhan, okay? Laugh out loud. Thanks, Ian. Hopefully I was getting my warm mids in there like I want to. I've got a pretty decent compressor on this. I'm actually pretty pleased with the software, actually. It gives me that extra 2 dB of headroom I'm looking for, so... But yeah, they were giving away masks. Additionally, if you don't know, that the Philippines essentially ran out of masks, right? And so I'm not saying the entire country did, but there was this shortage. And again, this is a news report that I've read, right? I wasn't physically there and involved in this transaction, but here's what I heard. Here's what I read: is that Thailand was maybe selling, I don't know, but they were giving face masks. Thailand was giving face masks to the Philippines at one time. I can't buy them online anymore, the places I've gone. The proximity mask, absolutely, yeah. It keeps it at a good distance. It helps me to not pop my peas, right? So, but to be fair, it's like the U.S. Oh, hey, they have this shortage of masks. The U.S. doesn't wear masks, whereas over here they wear them anyway, right? I mean, so when Gracie was here, so that was up to 1 week ago. Today's Friday. She left last Friday. I'm trying to think. Probably about 2 weeks before that. So let's say the beginning of March. She and I went out on public transit and cruised over to this area where there's street food. We went to this area in Thailand that had street food. Okay, so what did you do? Go 10 feet or 20 feet? Because that's where the street food is, every meter, right? But the point is that we went over to this area and had street food, meaning that we literally sat on the sidewalk as cars went by with a lot of exhaust, which Gracie commented on that. And I don't know, you just kind of get used to it. But very few people were wearing masks at the time. We were wearing them when we got on public transit, let's just say that. But the minute we got off, we took them off, as most people on the sidewalk weren't wearing them. So we go over and we get this street food. And as we were walking past the woman who had her fruit cart right next to that, there were people that had, packets of probably about this high of face masks. And I believe they were packets of 10. And they were selling them for, like 100 baht, which is basically $3. And, in my mind, that's not expensive. That might be expensive. I'm not quite sure. For all I know, the normal price of face masks, like this one that was being given out in the government office, was 1 baht, for all I know. I don't know. There are certain things that are crazy inexpensive over here. I'll give you an example. So Gracie and I, or Gracie, she did the footwork. I just used the website and filled out some stuff for her. But it was a team effort. She got her U.S. visa at the U.S. Embassy here in Bangkok because we were traveling. And it's like, all right, well, while you're in Bangkok, let's do it over there versus us, being, because I don't want to have to stay in Manila to do it at the U.S. Embassy. And so if you don't know, those of you that are from other countries that are trying to get visas, you don't have to go to the consulate of that country in your town, your home country. Meaning, Gracie's a Filipina. She doesn't necessarily have to go to the U.S. Embassy in the Philippines to get a U.S. visa, okay? Missy says she's got to run. The kids are begging for dinner. All right, well, good. That's good for you. I'm glad that she's doing that. So, it's always awesome to see you here and love your input. Very helpful. So she got her visa at the U.S. Embassy, and the way that they sort of deliver it is they don't, you don't cruise back. You go to the embassy, of course, for your interview, right? But then when they grant it, they don't necessarily say, hey, come back and pick it up. They will deliver it, and there's like a drop down inside of the site when you're applying for it. You choose the embassy that you want to go to, but then you also choose like how you want it delivered. And we chose a post office. I mistakenly chose one that was, kind of far away. But the point is that we went over there and then got off the train and then walked to the post office. The reason I tell you this story is that when the post office gave it to us, they said, oh, that'll be 1 baht. So it was it was a mandatory 3 cents that we paid the Thai Postal Service for doing it was a package. It was a large envelope. So I just was like, wow, that's okay. That's seemed pretty, it was kind of ceremonial, right? It's the 1 lucky baht, right? And she got her U.S. visa at that time. And then we actually walked down the street and then we bought these gold rings. It was kind of neat to celebrate. So anyway, I miss her. Shocker. And with any luck, this will, she's got 1 more week at least of quarantining. Self-quarantining. In Thailand, the 14 days of bar closure and establishments and all of the ones that I read earlier, I want to say that's going to end, I believe we're on day 4 of that. So I got another 10 days of that sort of thing. But again, I may head out and go up the street. So up the street from where I live is this literally the largest in Southeast Asia co-working space, right? It's such a large co-working space that it has co-working spaces in it, right? So it's got WeWork in it and other ones that you probably haven't heard of, but it's got a bunch of those on different floors. And then it is the global headquarters for one of the large the large teleco providers here, True. So it's called True Digital Park. And they have a lot of events, right? And one of the ones that I've really loved going recently are the pitch events. And so CEOs and other leaders in smaller companies, right? They will present their idea. Yesterday at 1 o'clock, it was the first time where they did it, and they broadcast it over the internet for the most part, meaning that there were actual physical people there, obviously presenting, and there were judges, that were sitting there, and none of them were wearing masks because they probably did the smart thing and just wash their hands, right? And they don't touch each other and all that. But the point is that there were people there, but there weren't a lot of people in the audience. And I've gone to these before, and really the audience is only filled with about, maybe 20, 30 people, maybe 30, not. But yesterday, the majority of the viewership was via Facebook on their Facebook page, and so I was watching that, and it was sort of an indication that this big open co-working space kind of thing is they're embracing the online thing, and so I think that was round 2. So that was sort of good, but it's just down the street, and it's one of the reasons that I moved here, because I have this affinity for startups and the startup ecosystem, and bright people, young bright people making cool ideas that potentially will improve my quality of my life. Yesterday, as you might guess, because Thailand, 20% of their GDP comes from tourism. As you might guess, a lot of young people, they believe that they can add to Airbnb or make a better experience or an additional experience. If you guys know of Agoda is part of Booking Holdings, and so Booking.com, but Agoda.com. Agoda.com originally was a Thai startup. It's one of the most successful Thai startups in the history of Thailand. It's not the most, right? But it's up there. So anyway, so there's this sort of, default setting of, well, I'll do something for the tourism industry, right? And so yesterday I saw 2 presentations by people who made websites and apps that allow you to essentially enhance your travel experience. And I was really surprised that, none of the judges were like, okay, so your business is essentially bankrupt today, and how do you expect to generate revenue? Now, interestingly enough, one of the guys that responded said, no, we're going to be free to the consumer as long as we can. But, he was going to basically be able to pay for his company to run from donors, right, from investors, but also from that sort of an affiliate agreement, right? So they would hook into an API of a travel site, and then they would provide additional service. But it was very interesting because the judges questioned these people as if what was happening around us is not happening. And I found that very odd. I figured, they would be like, okay, look, how are you going to pivot, right? And that's a really cool term in the startup world. How are you going to pivot your business such that, hey, McDonald's, how are you going to pivot your business when basically nobody, all of a sudden, everyone in the world hates hamburgers, and people believe that French fries give you cancer if you eat one, or whatever. The point is that how does the main staple of your business, now that is basically the need for that has gone away, what are you going to do, dude? And that's a pretty fair question, right? For an entrepreneur, for a leader, what are you going to do when things change? And it's not always an easy, question to answer. Sorry, apologize. I'm trying to get more comfortable. Let me get a standby. It's time for a Diet Coke because it's after 8 a.m. Have I ever shown you guys shown you how we spell Diet Coke in Thailand? That's how you spell Diet Coke. Interesting. And the world, by the way, refers to it as Coke Light. For the most part, Diet Coke is only used in the United States. Thank you for allowing me to have a brief pause there. So, with all of this said, I am here to report to you that I am, I guess the easiest way to describe it is making the best of it. I have I have a hobby, right, which is doing this YouTube stuff and that sort of thing, and I really love the engagement that happens with these live streams. So I'm going to probably do one once a week. I haven't decided the best day. I know that ideally the best time is probably right now, 6 p.m. West Coast and 9 p.m. East Coast. So, because I've done the analysis right on the YouTube channel, and the majority of my subscribers come from the U.S. Although I get the second one after that is India, interestingly enough. But right now it is probably about 4 a.m. In India. They are, I think they are 4.5 hours behind us. But let me check that. Yeah, right now it's 7:20 a.m. actually, so it's only it's an hour and a half. So that's so it's a good time for India. So when I do these at 8 a.m. my time, it'll be 6:30 their time. So that's not too bad. Oh, very cool. So Marty just shared. He shared with me actually in private message. A great link that covers the corona cases by country and states with great stats. So it's just simply Worldometers, World O METERS, worldmeters.info/coronavirus. So, and if you want to put that in the chat, feel free, Marty. But that's okay. I totally get it if you don't want to pollute it up there. I'm just teasing. The cool thing about this chat is that it shows all the chats, right? So all of the sort of, chats or questions that come in from YouTube, as well as Facebook and let's see, where else am I? We're doing this on Facebook Periscope, right? Which is, the handheld one, and it's not as popular. But the funny thing is that I get a lot more on-demand views from there. I was on Periscope because, if you recall a few days ago, I kept trying this, and so therefore I was effectively creating useless live streams. And so, I don't get a lot of viewers live on Periscope, but I get a lot of on-demand watching, right? And so I was on there, like, deleting the videos that were lame, which is why if you got a notification about a YouTube video that went up live, and then 17 minutes later got another notification, there's a reason why when you click on those, the videos are gone, because I'm like, all right, I'm not going to leave this on the channel. It didn't add any value. So Periscope's another one. VK.com, which I found because of, just Googling. That's basically the Facebook of Russia. I didn't realize that. So VK, the two letters, VK.com. And it was easy to create an account, and so I stream on there because I got a couple of guys from that sort of part of the world that, reached out to me. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll just go over here. It doesn't cost anything to do it. D Live, the letter D, and then LIVE. That's sort of video on the blockchain, and so it's very interesting how they're using that as sort of a foundation. Mixer, which if you are a gamer, as well as Twitch, right? Both of those sort of start. Twitch is infinitely more popular. You may not know about Mixer unless you're an Xbox person, because it's a Microsoft solution, Mixer. But Twitch, obviously owned by Amazon now, but Twitch started as, streaming video for gamers, right? And so I think that I got all my bases covered is the short answer, and then of course YouTube. Full of great stats, graphs, and is very up to date. Cool. So yeah, worldometer.info/coronavirus. Pardon me. Thanks, Marty. Appreciate it, buddy. That's totally cool. Again, Surviving TN. Check out his channel. The weather here in Bangkok, I believe, I don't want to just talk about the weather. Why do I bring that up? Because the hot humidity, a lot of people have asked me, oh, do you think it's not spreading because it's hot and humid over there? To which, of course, I revert back to all of the schooling that I had, in medical school. No idea. I believe what I have read or heard, probably heard more than just read, just in casual conversation, that apparently higher temperature, I'm not quite sure on the humidity thing, but higher temperature yields less ability for the virus to live. If we're going on the basis of that data being accurate, then I believe that I am in one of the best places to be in the world. Because, so Bangkok, if you don't know, it's at latitude 12, I think, or maybe that's Phuket. But the point is that Thailand is basically latitude 12, 13, 14 sort of thing. So we're in the tropics, to say the least. But Singapore is at latitude 1, and I love Singapore. I love everything about Singapore except the darn cost of it. But to be fair, considering, many of you will probably also know that Hong Kong is ridiculously expensive. But in Hong Kong, I don't believe you get a lot for your money. And so you pay a lot, but you get, older, smaller facilities that are not in good condition unless you pay, like, a lot of money, like a ridiculous amount of money, where, basically only the rich can, crazy rich Asians, right? That was filmed in Singapore, if you don't know. But anyway, so the reason I love Singapore is because, in contrast to Hong Kong, you get infinitely more for your money. Additionally, you can live there for a reasonable amount. In comparison, I say that from the lens of San Diego. I refer to Singapore as San Diego at latitude 1 because it's got, it's not enormous. It's 5 million people, I think. City or country state is how they refer to it. And they, and you've probably heard a lot of things about Singapore. You probably heard about, oh my God, if you chew gum, then you're going to get beaten with a cane. Yeah, that happened in the 70s, okay? So that doesn't happen anymore. They don't bring up the fact that you can't have chewing gum. There is no chewing gum sold there, I will tell you that. But basically, the point is that don't throw your garbage on the street, right? Keep the place clean. And because of that, it's incredibly clean. It's, but it's very expensive to live there. Put it this way, if you were to live in Singapore the way that the average person, I consider myself fairly average in San Diego, right? So you have a car, you have a place you live, you have, you have clothes, of course, but you're always sort of wanting to, up it, right? So in other words, if you start out your life there, you get a studio apartment, then you get a 1-bedroom, and then maybe you get a 2-bedroom, and then maybe the American dream, right? So you buy a condo, and then you move to a single-family home. So let's say you follow that trajectory, and of course, every car you buy is better than the last one, ideally, right? Whatever. If you were to live that way in Singapore and use your car in Singapore the way you would, say, in San Diego. Then it is truly accurate if you say it is the most expensive city in the world, because to own a car there, it's close to 300% duty, right? And so imagine paying $85,000 for a Toyota Corolla, right? It's silly, but that's the way it is. Now the salaries there are quite high, for professionals, right? I mean, for workers that have the food hawker stands, right? They're not making a ton of money, but the cost of food there for people to go out and have, it's not very reasonable. So I don't know if you guys heard about this. I heard this about years ago, and it could be still out there. It was like the Big Mac Index, and the way that this guy that came up with it, I believe, it was a guy. He said, okay, well, I'm going to determine the cost of living in a city based on the cost of a Big Mac, which is ridiculous and totally wrong. And I'll tell you why. The price of a Big Mac in Bangkok is more than the price of a Big Mac in San Diego, in Beverly Hills. It's more than the price of a Big Mac in New York City, San Francisco, because it's not a common staple to the Thai diet, okay? So like Western food over here, if you come over to Bangkok and you live, with the poor diet, let's just say, I mean, there are many people that watch me that I'm friends with that call it, and they eat fairly healthy, right? So fruits, vegetables, whole foods, plant-based, that sort of thing. So going to McDonald's is pretty rare. But the point is if you were to eat Pizza Hut and McDonald's and KFC and, eat Haagen-Dazs ice cream or something like that, it would be more expensive to live here in Bangkok. But that isn't the cost of living, because that's not how most people live here in Bangkok. Put it this way, you don't live in Thailand if you absolutely hate the heat, the humidity, but also hate Thai food. If you hate Thai food, spicy food, Asian food, that sort of thing, then you wouldn't live here. You'd be like, okay, I'm not into this anymore. I can't do it, right? So anyway, Mike's, determination of cost of living based on a consumer product is called the Diet Coke Index. So if you are to buy the plastic, I believe they're 1 liter, twist off, and it's basically it's a plastic, bottle that you would buy at 7-Eleven, and it's molded to look like the older glass bottles. But if you were to buy one of those in 7-Eleven, and let's just say for the sake of argument, it's never on sale, it's the most that it normally is. In some 7-Elevens, I've actually paid over $2 for that, like the one near the airport and that sort of thing. And then other 7-Elevens that are kind of in the middle of nowhere, but they're at a gas station and they're the only one. $1.79, right, for a bottle of Diet Coke. Sorry, I didn't mean, I got to move that over the, yeah, cool. So let's say for the sake of argument, it's like, $1.80 for one of those things. That is the price of that same product in Singapore. Obviously, it's in Singapore dollars, so the number that you see, if you were to Google it right now, if you were to Google images, you would see it displayed, and of course it would be, have the price in Singapore dollars. So it would look like it's more. It would be like $2.50 Singapore dollars, something like that. But the point is that it's about the same price. It's like about $2 for the same thing. And so it's like, okay, yeah, it would cost about what it costs to live in San Diego here at latitude 1, the way you live in Singapore, meaning the cost of living. In Singapore, you take public transportation quite a bit. The rail system is amazing, and it's autonomous. It drives itself. Undoubtedly, they have a giant monitoring center where there are humans that can take care, because there's never a derailment or anything. But if you go up to the front car and you look through the tinted glass into the driver's area, there's no humans there. So that's very impressive to me. But anyway, the point is that the cost of living there is high, based on this Diet Coke index. And the reason I do that is because when I go to Vietnam and I go to Thailand and I've gone to Malaysia and the Philippines. Okay, if you wonder about the proliferation of bottled water, that's actually pretty good in most major places. There's plenty of it, and in a lot of places people drink that because they don't believe the tap water. I'm pointing to my sink. They don't believe the tap water is drinkable, right? So there's bottled water in quite a few places, and a lot of people, there's a lot of studies out there that say, if we could just get clean, fresh drinking water to places, then people would survive better. But there is Coca-Cola everywhere. Like, I cannot think of any place in the world that I've been where there hasn't been Coca-Cola or Sprite. Those are the two most common things. Now, getting a Diet Coke or a Coke Zero, that can be a challenge, right? But in the middle of nowhere, there is Coca-Cola. So that's why I think I can, use this sort of index. Now, I drink Diet Coke, so therefore I go and I don't buy this. But at the end of the day, Diet Coke, Coke Light, Coke Zero, Coca-Cola, right? Same price. So the price of one of those here in Thailand at a 7-Eleven is about 15 baht. So it's about 50 cents. So that's approximately, and it'll go up depending upon where you are. I mean, I've been places where it's 18 baht, which is about 67 cents, or 20 baht, which is about 67 cents. So at the end of the day, let's say for the sake of argument, it's 15 baht. The majority of places you go, and that's 50 cents. So if we were to compare that to the price of the one, let's say in San Diego, it's about 3 times that, right? So about 1/3 the price here. And I can tell you that the cost of living, the way I live here, is about 1/3 what it cost me to live in San Diego. I don't have a car here. I don't have a motorbike. I rent and that sort of thing. We take public transportation because in Bangkok it's spectacular. If I need to take a car somewhere, like if it's raining, like in next month, I'll probably be taking Grabs, which are Grab is simply the name of the app that is Uber for you, or Lyft. I prefer Lyft personally because they started out as, if you don't remember, when Lyft started out, all of the cars had these giant pink fuzzy mustaches on them. That was awesome. But of course there was so much debate and so much competition they felt from the cab drivers to the Lyft drivers that you were basically putting this banner on your car that says, oh hey, by the way, cab drivers, I drive for Lyft and I'm taking business away from you. So therefore there was that that issue that they had, right? So they don't have the pink mustaches on the front of their cars. If they apparently get an award now for driving and producing, get 5 stars rating, then they get a plastic pink mustache, and they can apparently, it's like a reward, right? But so anyway, so that's how I live here, and I don't buy clothes that are necessarily expensive, right? So I don't need to buy a winter coat for sure, and of course I didn't need to buy a winter coat in San Diego unless I was going up to the mountains and going skiing, but and I also live in a 1-bedroom condo of about 41 square meters, which is approximately 400 square feet. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, 10 to 1. And the 1-bedroom house that Gracie and I lived in Coronado, California, that was about 450 square feet. So it's a 1-bedroom, right? So because I realized long ago that, it was infinitely harder to be very mobile if I owned a house. But also, houses are very patient, my mom would always say, meaning that there's always something that you need to fix and pay for, even if you buy a brand new one. Maybe not in the first year, because you buy it and you get that mortgage insurance, or you get the 1 year, insurance on the household stuff. And so if your water heater breaks, usually that 1 year of insurance is like thrown in. But the point is that there's always something to do with the house. And the other thing too is that I love when my garbage disposal went out in the house that I was renting. I just called up the landlord and I said, garbage disposal is bad. She's like, okay, well, I'll have a new one put in. And I said, well, I tell you what, I'll just go to Home Depot and buy it, and then you can just give me the money, and then you don't have to pay some guy to put it in, because it's a garbage disposal. It's not difficult, right? And of course I got the Badger, because I'm a smart homeowner. But anyway, the whole owning a house thing, I had a 3-bedroom house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and I'm like, okay, I'm a single guy, right? But I've also owned 4 cars at one time before, so, I've done plenty of silly things as it relates to being a consumer. But the point is that I live in a 1-bedroom condo here, and, I downsized, if you will, my life in San Diego, in Coronado, to be fair, I already had my small house in Coronado before I made my first trip to Thailand. But once I came to Thailand and realized that I wanted to live here and needed to figure out how to do that, one of the things that I continued to do was to continue to stay downsized. And again, I squander my money on things that I probably shouldn't. But the point is, I did a hell of a lot less of that, knowing that I was coming here. And so with a bunch of traveling and that sort of thing, Gracie and I were living, the two of us, right? And that includes the cost of her, upkeeping the house that we built for her and her family in the Philippines, about $2,000 a month. And my cost of living in San Diego with car and house and, the cost of food is infinitely more expensive there too. And if I were to go out to eat, the statement of, I go out to eat all the time so I can save money, that doesn't exist in the United States. That is absolutely the case here. If I don't buy groceries or cook here in the, again, kitchen's over there, and I just go out and I eat the way a Thai would. So I would eat at, some Thai restaurants for the most part, but I don't eat Western restaurants. I eat street food because the quality is excellent and the taste is fantastic. And if I eat that, it's cheaper. Right? And so eating out a lot here in Thailand, it's like, oh yeah, he must be saving money. But again, I don't own a car here. If I were to own a car here, well, first of all, I couldn't own my car here. There is no Acura. There's no Acuras sold here. Lexus is sold here, right? So the luxury brand but there's no Infiniti. There's no Nissan luxury brand, right? But there is Honda. And I'm a big Honda fan. But if I were to buy let's say, so I had a Honda... No, sorry, I had a Honda Civic years ago, but then after that I started buying Acuras. So I had an Acura TL twice because I would just lease them because it was a lot better from my pocketbook. And those are big cars, so I wouldn't even be able to get something like that. It's like if you buy a Honda Accord here, you've got basically a luxury car. And then there's the Civic thing over here. It's called the City. The Honda Fit actually is pretty popular over here, and you can also buy a Honda Fit in the United States. I believe the Honda Fit is the smallest Honda you can buy in the United States. But those here are very expensive. There's a 30% tax on it. So, it would be more expensive to have that car here. And used cars here hold their value very, very well. So I figured I'd come here, oh yeah, for a couple $1,000, I'll just go buy a 10-year-old, Toyota or something like that, something reliable. No, it's a lot more expensive. Sometimes they're in better condition. It's not like buying a used car in New England where it's got winters that it's driven through. It's more like buying a used car for sure in San Diego or Southern California, where effectively there's no body damage, right, from any weird weather. Maybe the paint might be faded, but the body's in good shape here, right? But they hold their value really well. And I'm told, I need to verify this, but I believe this is a true statement. A year ago, maybe 18 months ago, you can no longer import used cars. So the used car market, because of that, right? So and especially older American cars. Like if you want to buy a muscle car in Thailand, it's going to cost you a fortune. But because of that, the majority of them are in excellent shape. Anyway, I'm just, I'm kind of all over the place with the topics, but I did want to do a live stream today to prove that I could do it. But also to update you guys on Thailand. The short answer is there's 60 more people that were infected with coronavirus, unfortunately. Additionally, I want to share that again. Worldometers, right? Worldometers.info/coronavirus if you want to find out, how it's going. And as of today, there's about 245,000 people with cases and over 10,000 deaths. So absolutely, more deaths than SARS, right? So, I mean, I'm glad that the countries are taking it seriously. I'm disappointed that I have to be indoors. I'm grateful that I wasn't relying on an hourly wage provided to me from being in a business that involved hospitality or healthcare or something like that. That's pretty scary. I get that, and I get why the U.S. government at least is like, look, we're going to support you guys. I saw a report on the BBC from the UK, and they're doing the same thing. So they're supporting their citizens big time, and they make the comment that they have a really good healthcare system. I can't speak to it. I've never used it, but I have heard that it's world class. And if you are a doctor here in Thailand and you were educated medically in the UK, then you're considered smart, right? You're considered well off. You're considered someone that we can trust and an excellent doctor. You were educated in the West is basically the label on it. Boy, that was a lot of white noise. I hope that didn't come through too bad. I know this dynamic microphone is pretty sensitive, but anyway. So with that, I just wanted to say good morning from Thailand. Good evening, West Coast. Good evening later, East Coast. And if you're super up this early and you're from the UK, thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate it. It's Mike's from LiveMyAssOff.com saying, I hope you're living the dream amidst all of this. Because if you're not living the dream, it's going to be really, really hard to make the next sane decision, I would submit. So, but before I jump off, I just wanted to Marty says, just saw that the state of California issued a stay-at-home order. Okay, cool. So that's, I'm not sure whether stay-at-home is the same as, what is it, live in place or something like that? I want to verify that I get the right terminology. Missy shared it from Facebook. But it's not like live in place. It's more like oh God, I want to get this right. Let's see what one of the Missy shared it. Sorry. You don't need that audio. That's for sure. Oh my Buddha. All right, fine. Let me just do it this way. Let me see all of the comments that are coming in. Oh, I can't scroll through the comments? Oh, that's a little bit frustrating. Facebook. All right, whatever. Anyway, it's thanks, Ian. Really appreciate it. Ian is from the family of Goodmans, who believe that broadcast is actually an actual shelter in place. Thank you very much. Really. Hey, Earl Henderson, how you doing? That's really cool to hear from someone from San Diego. Cheers, my friend. I'm having a Diet Coke, the elixir of life. I don't know you that well. Obviously, we know each other from the club. But I can tell you that one of the men in my life that I love and respect the most, Mike G, he blames you for a lot of his happiness. So thank you for making a family member, basically. Mike G is my brother. Thank you for making a family member have some a lot of direction. He respects you a great deal. So anyway, yeah, so shelter in place versus what is being stay-at-home order. So I assume stay-at-home order and then shelter in place is the one that at least Missy mentioned in Oregon. This may be a state thing. I don't know if it's a federal thing. A shelter in place means that the military is basically holding people accountable for that. So they're the enforcers, and I would assume that the stay-at-home order from California is more, enforced by the police department, and as well as social norms, right? I mean, if they're like, look, don't go outside because if you breathe on somebody, you could kill them. And you see one of your neighbors like walking around outside, sneezing, coughing, spitting, I mean, that's going to be like, dude, come on, man, don't do that. So the good news is that I would submit that the behavior that we're engaged in now is so common globally that, to not do it, you're really not part of the club. So I think that that could be a good thing, because there's a lot to be said for social shaming. So maybe that's part of the enforcement too. So anyway, at about 9:15 here in Bangkok, it's Mike's from LiveMyAssOff.com saying, I hope you're living the dream. Because if you're not living the dream, potentially you're doing it wrong. I'm not saying you're not doing it wrong. These circumstances are exceptional. So anyway, the point is that I hope you're living the dream relative to what's going on. I'll talk to you guys soon. Ciao.